Welcome to the Coach Craig Kenneth Show. I am your host, Coach Craig Kenneth, along with my co-host,
Coach Victoria.
And today we have a caller on the line with us. Her name is Hannah. She's in her late 20s, and she wants to talk about how the tables have turned in her relationship. Hannah, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
We're happy to have you on. Could you tell us a little bit about what's been going on for you?
Yeah. So my boyfriend and I have been together for a little over 4 years,
Okay.
and recently, he dumped me, and I know this goes against what you've taught us. I begged him to stay, and surprisingly, he did. However, he wanted some personal space and wanted me to move out. So I respected his decision and moved out along with my pets. And now his behavior doesn't really match his words, and his behavior has also become concerning to me. And now I'm unsure of if I should stay or not and continue working on our relationship.
Okay. So let's go back to the beginning a little bit. How long ago did you guys meet? Tell us about life with you and him before you guys started to have your issues.
So we met in, I guess, mid 2021, during the summer of 2021,
Okay.
and it was great. We had great chemistry. We had love for nerdy stuff, video games. We would play video games together all the time.
Nice. What was your
And
favorite?
my favorite would be Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone,
Okay.
but specifically in 2020 when COVID was going on. That was when it was like peak
We had war
fun.
zones everywhere, inside in the supermarket, trying to get toilet paper in Australia. Everything was a war zone.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
Warzone, I played it.
have you played Repo?
No, I don't know that.
It's a very fun co-op game. You can get up to, I believe, 6 players, and it's just fun, innocent chaos.
Okay. Repo, I've never heard of that one.
Innocent chaos sounds like an oxymoron.
I I have been playing Mario Kart on the Switch too with my daughter lately. That's been fun.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, we it started out great, and then I had some home issues where my mother kicked me out.
Ooh,
And I was still in school at the time, finishing up my bachelor's degree.
what was
And
going on there? What made mom want you to leave?
her and my relationship has always been rocky. I've kind of had to parent my parents, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And if certain things didn't get done around the house, she would get very angry. If things didn't go her way, she would also get very angry. So it got to a point where I was just super tired. I was a full-time college student, working full-time, helping around the house, cleaning up the house. And one day I just kind of broke, and I yelled at her. We got into a yelling match.
Sounds like you finally stood up for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't like
Margaret
that.
would be happy about that. I can tell you that, right? She'd say she's individuating, standing up for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I guess she didn't like that, and so it got to the point where she just kicked me out, and we were still together at the time, and so he was very gracious and very patient with me and decided to take me in.
Oh, wow.
And so we moved in together early on, and things were a little rocky at first, but we always talked through them. We came out stronger on the other side, and it was great until a
Did you talk?
series of. I'm sorry?
Sorry to interrupt. I was just curious about the rockiness. You said things got rocky. What did you mean by that? What was going on?
Um, So we would argue about his insecurities. He had a lot of, I think it's called retroactive jealousy.
Oh boy.
Mm.
And
I do
at
get
one
some clients with that.
point, yeah, at one point, when I was in the shower, he went through my phone and searched up all of my ex's names. I didn't even know he knew my
Mm.
ex's names at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it had been secretly been bothering him to the
Mhm.
point where he knew who everybody was. And the minute he had an opportunity, he's like, oh yeah, now I'm going.
Right. And just for anyone
Yeah.
listening, retroactive jealousy, if you couldn't tell already by the name of it, it's when you get intense feelings of jealousy for your partner for things that have happened before the relationship started. Just to make that clear.
Yeah. So he goes through the phone and how old are these messages? Like even years before you had known him?
It had been like a good, I don't know, like the last communication I think I had with the ex before him was maybe 6 months. But I mean, he scrolled back years and years of
Oh
messages because,
gosh. He's gonna see some if you were in a relationship with those guys at the time, he's definitely gonna see some stuff he doesn't want to see.
Mhm.
yeah, well, I have a bad habit of not deleting things. I'll like delete their numbers and then they'll just kind of like other messages will pile on. So I just eventually, it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So I thought I had, like, if you block someone, I thought it automatically deleted all of their messages. So I didn't know that the messages still were there, so he kind of like read through all of that. He didn't tell me for about a day until I caught on his behavior was odd. So he confessed to what he did, and that was the start of like our rockiness because it became a
It,
trust issue for me, a privacy issue, and my exes just kept coming up in the relationship to where I felt like I didn't have a relationship with him. It was more of like people that weren't in my life were coming up. It
Mhm.
just felt like they were there, even though they weren't in my life.
Now let me ask you this. Did he see any graphic stuff that made him really upset and bothered that he'd bring it up?
No.
Okay, because that's a big one for guys.
Yeah. And this can be a couple things. This could be a way to create some kind of tension or distance. It could be self-sabotaging in the sense that you don't have any control on things that did happen in the past. So this can be a way to kind of keep you at a distance. On the other end of things, this sounds like a lot of anxious behavior. It's one of those things that once we get a little bit of information, we want to dive deeper and feel that sense of control by knowing more, even if it's devastating to us or difficult for us to accept.
Yeah.
And so it sounded like he dug himself into that deep rabbit hole, for whatever reason it was.
So now you didn't feel like you could trust him. And how did he feel? Did he say, I don't know if I want to be with you anymore over these messages or what?
It was he never said that he didn't want to be with me anymore. He felt like he didn't have a special place in my life or in my heart. Um
Wow.
which didn't, yeah, I which didn't make sense to me, but
Well, I think part of him was probably thinking something like, well, if these other people could be so special to you, then maybe it's not as special that I'm that special to you.
And I think the underlying question is, do you love me enough? Do you love those people more? Anxiety, it does some nasty things to our brains. It, makes us react to either real threats or perceived threats. So I'm sure him going through these messages, he's seeing those interactions, you being enamored with other people, which of course you were in relationships with them at the time,
Sure.
and he's seeing that as an active threat, even when it's not. So what?
and then like fast forward a couple years, that's when both of our lives just kind of
Well,
hit
hold on.
rock.
Before we fast forward a couple of years, like, how did things go after that? Like, were you guys relatively, did you work it out and things got better, or were you kind of both 1 foot in, 1 foot out?
I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a little bit, because I asked him to kind of work on these insecurities. I suggested therapy to him because I had been going, but he's never been. So I suggested therapy. We've done maybe a couple sessions of couples counseling, and uh, eventually he just stopped bringing them up altogether. I don't know if he still felt that way or if he just stopped bringing them up out of fear. Regardless, they
So
don't come
I
up anymore.
so when did you guys get into therapy? How long ago was that?
The first time we went to couples therapy was, I believe, like a year and a half into our relationship.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how many sessions do you think you went to?
probably 2 or 3.
Okay, so not too many.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then how come you stopped seeing that therapist? You didn't like the therapist or what?
She had kind of ghosted us at one point, and she reached back out like the following week saying she had a death in the family, which we understood. And so we let her have her time, and she never reached back out to us, which she said she would.
Mm.
So we just wanted to,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And then you just, I guess, didn't have the momentum to get back into therapy after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also want to know, how did you react when he would bring those things up? I know you had said you felt like it was a violation of privacy, but how would those conversations about the retroactive jealousy go?
It did not go well. I was angry, and I did not hide it. I did not try to reel my anger back. I'm sure I've said a few hurtful things to him, but mostly it was just frustration and anger. I remember saying a lot of, why do you keep bringing them up when they're no longer in my life? I feel like I'm being punished for this.
Mm.
Yeah. 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 It would be torture. I don't want to be harassed about
Mhm.
somebody I dated 5 years ago or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, that it's frustrating for you because you're like, I don't care about that person in the same way anymore. Like I'm friendly with them or whatever, but you keep bringing that up, and all that does is make me not want to be around you or talk to you.
And he probably receives that as, oh my gosh, you're rejecting me just like I thought you would, and probably makes him more reactive. So I could see how this becomes a very vicious cycle where it started with, you don't love me as much as you loved them, and then just continues because he probably sees your anger with that. And it's probably hard for him to, wrap his mind around all of this. So what kind of work did the two of you do in couples counseling?
I had actually been watching Craig for a couple of years at that point, and I had brought up attachment theories to him. And so we watched few of your videos. We've watched well, he said he watched other YouTube videos about attachment theories.
Why
And
waste your
so
time? We have everything that you need.
that's I kind of said something along those lines to him. I was like,
Right?
why would
The smart woman.
Yeah, I told him, there's like over 500 videos. Why would you need another channel?
500. We're up to 2,000
I
at
know
this
it's a
point.
lot. A lot.
Yeah. But yeah, he said he did the work, and things slowly got better over time, and eventually it came to a point where I felt like it wasn't worth kind of badgering him over. So I let it go. We moved on, and progressed our relationship, deepened our bond, and then both of our lives just kind of hit a rock bottom between deaths in the family, losing my ESA dog
Mm,
to cancer, and
Right.
then like betrayal from both sides of the family.
mm,
So it was tough. It would put a lot of strain on our relationship, and we started fighting. You know, our communication became a huge issue. So we just constantly fought for like a year or so.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it
That's
got to the
really like how often were you arguing? Weekly, monthly,
almost
daily?
weekly. I mean, it was very tiresome. It was toxic. And then at one point he called me delusional, and which I didn't appreciate. And I've never had like a blackout angry moment, but that was one moment that I just kind of blacked out and I said very hurtful things to him. And
Mm.
so he dumped me, and there was some begging, but after like an hour or so, I left. I packed my stuff. It was a very short breakup. I would say we broke up for like a month before we got back together. Um, so after that, our mental health became a struggle for both of us. And so we were going through medication trials. It just felt like life was just throwing everything at us.
Yeah, so it
And
gets exhausting, right? You have
yeah,
all these issues hitting you, mental health, family, loss, um, and it's impacting both of you. And so the connection is just getting weaker and weaker.
It's a lot for a relationship to withstand all that.
Yeah.
yeah, and so it got to a point where, he told me, "Hey, I don't think our relationship uh is gonna get healthy at like I don't believe that it's ever gonna get healthy. So I want to break up to focus on me, physically and mentally. I don't think our relationship's gonna last, even if we keep working on things. So I begged him to keep trying. Um, and he did. He is, but now his behavior has just kind of not matched his words, and it's very confusing. I'm getting
How,
mixed signals.
how so? What do you mean?
He says he wants to keep trying, and he wants his space, and I've been giving him his space. However, if I did not, I would like kind of bring up to him, hey, I'm waiting for you to, initiate contact since I don't know how much space you want. It's kind of confusing for me because we're still in this relationship, but we haven't talked, in a couple days.
Okay.
And he would get upset with that, argue, say that he is contacting me. He's still trying. Got upset that he said initially I didn't want to do this, like but I'm still with you, so I don't know what the big deal is, something along those lines.
I want to ask just out of curiosity, but do you suspect that there could be somebody else in the picture? Had he mentioned anything about like dating someone else or liking someone else between the time the two of you were broken up?
Um, I did bring it up, and the reaction was anger, and
How much
he was
anger?
like, I can't believe you would think that.
Oh, I never like hearing that word.
Mm.
That tell me more.
He said, I can't believe you would think that, I have a ring camera, like there's no way I could cheat, and even if I did, you would know because you have access to the ring camera.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so he's got valid point. That's a valid point then.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't.
And so,
Hmm?
I just thought she said wouldn't.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah. Well, I mean, if they can look at the ring camera,
she would, yeah.
yeah.
we have one at our front door and in our living room, but he took down the living room one.
Mm.
And I had brought it up, and he said, I don't want to be watched. Like, I want my space, which didn't really make sense to me at the time, but now, I respect it. I'm okay with it.
Now, let me ask you this. Was there another way someone could have gotten into the house besides the front door?
Or was he the type to be out late? Or did you notice anything suspicious?
No, I mean, looking back, his behavior wasn't suspicious except
Okay.
for the Ring camera thing and him getting so defensive over me asking, "Hey, is there anyone else in the picture?"
Yeah.
And
At any point did he say, no, I'm not seeing anyone else?
yes, he did
Okay.
say that.
Okay. So that's good. Because sometimes people just, I can't believe you would accuse me of that, but then they never answer the question. They never say, no, there is nobody.
And I also ask just because we had talked about the retroactive jealousy in the beginning, and sometimes if those issues aren't worked through, it can lead to a resentment. And there you can have motive to get back at someone or, to do something to kind of puff up your ego. So that's why I asked, not that I, want to put anything out there like that, but just to cover those bases.
Yeah, so there wasn't any cheating, and I don't believe that he would be the type to cheat anyways. Um, so now I don't know. It's I have so much love and care for him, but the way things went down and the things we've discussed, it's just he doesn't seem like he has hope, and I feel like I'm having to kind of pick up the pieces a lot of the time. While he's focusing on himself, I feel like I'm having to focus on myself and us.
So now, is it that you feel like you're kind of at a crossroads where you're going to have to decide, do I want to keep trying or am I just going to walk away from this situation?
To put it bluntly, I'm trying to decide if I want to end the relationship mutually and just move on from, you know, I guess our story, if you want to call it that. Um, or if I want to try and build a future with him because we had the same goals in mind.
Mm.
Okay, so a lot of that, when you get to these places in a relationship, you really want to slow things down and take a long look at very important questions because the last thing you want to do is end it and then you start to miss them and get anxious and then you want to come back because it's a lot harder to repair when it gets there than if you're making sure that you're thinking about all the tough questions ahead of time. Right? How many times have you seen somebody, I ended the relationship, now I regretted it. I regret it immediately. So you really want to be thoughtful in your approach and asking yourself tough questions before you decide to do anything.
Right. And think about what you're okay with versus what you're not okay with. So it sounds like so far the things that are most concerning to you are the irritability / aggressiveness. That sounds like that might be top of the list, along
Hmm.
just that inconsistency in reaching out to you, along with kind of the nippiness that the two of you have with each other.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would add to that list?
Initially I was devastated over the fact that it felt like he kicked me out almost.
Mm.
Um, but I was upset over, no longer living together. But now
You
that
mean
we've
I'm sorry, do you mean the initial breakup or recently?
recently,
Okay.
so, initially I was upset about that, but now that some time has passed, not too much time, I'm starting to kind of like the space I have. I'm liking the distance between us. It gives me time to focus on me and kind of not, I don't have to take care of him.
You don't have to
because
expend as much energy because a relationship
yeah.
takes so much energy to take care of
Mhm.
somebody, and you're tired, you're burnt out, there's been a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of family issues, a lot of loss. All
Mhm.
those things
Mhm.
add up. What would you be asking yourself? Because this is the question queen right here.
Well, one thing that I'm thinking about is, how can this time be beneficial to you? One thing that I see when people struggle with mental health issues, just in general, and especially in relationships, is there's that tendency to blame others. So now that the two of you aren't living together, you're taking a little bit more time and space between interactions and talking. You really get to see, who am I outside of this? The two of you have been together for, half a decade almost. So that's a significant amount of time. And getting that space to see, okay, well, what does this feel like to me right now? Does this give me more energy for the next interaction? Do our interactions together feel draining? What is this like for me right now? Those are some things I would be asking, along with, what have I been potentially blaming somebody else for something that I can take responsibility for? And that's on both ends.
And
Mhm.
and I would be thinking about, what will life really be like without him? I would take some real time to think, okay, let's say you end this relationship and then you find out he is in a new relationship with somebody else. What would that feel like? And really sit with it, because once you let someone go, they
Mhm.
have that opportunity to move on and find somebody else. And that's just one way to get to tap into your feelings about it, right? Because rebounds a lot of times don't last, but the damage that can be done by ending the relationship can make it much harder to turn around.
Mhm. And with that, I would also add, just another question, thinking about what hurts have been unaddressed here. Something that I'm realizing is, it seems like there's a lot of residual pain that's just kind of lingering, that might have been unspoken about for a long time. I don't know if that is the retroactive jealousy. I don't know if part of it is also what you had just said about, feeling pushed out here towards the end, and now you're feeling rejected. Now you're saying, well, is this really the kind of interaction that I want to have? So thinking about what hurts here, can we address in a sensitive way and in a different way? Because it sounds like maybe the MO so far in your relationship has been anger. It's been, okay, let's talk about
Mhm.
it. Then the conversation escalates and the two of you are angry, rather than being able to say, hey, I'm hurt about this thing, or I'm feeling really vulnerable about this thing.
And one more thing that I forgot to mention is that we had been going to couples counseling for months towards the end of our relationship. I told him early on that I didn't like that therapist,
Mm.
but he wrote it off as, I'm resistant to couples therapy, or I'm not wanting to take accountability for my shortcomings. And so, out of fear of losing that relationship with him, I kept going, but eventually we stopped going. That was only due to us finding out she did unethical billing.
Mm.
Um,
How
and
did how
then,
did she do that? She billed your insurance without seeing you?
um, I, I had, I was sick one day, and it had been less than 24 hours before the notice, but yet she still had billed my insurance, or his insurance, um, and got payment there, yet we still had to pay her our portion.
Um,
Did they have some kind of, agreement that you can't cancel within 24 hours?
She said she mentioned it at the beginning of our session, but there was no like document of it.
Hmm. Well, if there's documentation of it, then, I mean, that's standard for a lot of professionals, but
but yeah, regardless, I mean, you being able to say, hey, I'm not driving with this particular therapist is a totally okay thing to say. And I think that's something that not a lot of people know going into therapy.
yeah.
Sometimes they have a really negative experience with their first counselor, and they just kind of view counseling as that way. So, I wish there would have been a little bit more flexibility for him to say, okay, let's find somebody else that we both, can form a connection with, and have this be more productive because of that. Okay.
Hmm. And I spoke with him about it after we stopped seeing her, and I brought up a couple more therapists,
Okay.
but he never got around to it, and that's around the time he tried to break up with me.
So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Because at that point he thought he was going to end it. So he's like, I don't want to, a lot of times people are like, oh, we're going to end it anyway. I don't want to get into therapy right now and try and fix it.
And he might have thought that he already expended all resources at that point. So
feelings do change, obviously, in a relationship, as you could see, like, it's gone back and forth. Like now you're the one that's not sure about it, whereas before he was unsure about it. And so it's tough. But you got to really sit with tough questions and really think about the future with or without him, and really think about how it's going to feel, because once you end this, you might change your mind. And the best thing you could do is really have a strong idea of how it will feel if you lose him to somebody else before you make that final decision.
Yeah. My best advice here would be to self-soothe in the time where you're not hearing from him as often. I would be observant to see if you see any other aggressive type of behavior. And then I would also, give yourself that time to be a little bit more independent in the situation too. I think this can be seen as a bit of an opportunity, now you being on your own too.
Yeah.
So,
There's no easy answer when you're trying to decide something like this. So the more you really think about what it would take to make this work, what would you do to make it work? Is he committed to making it work? Are you as a couple committed to making it work? I mean, it's when you hear that, it's like, it sounds tiring, but it is tiring. Making a relationship last has got to be more than just fun and, games and playfulness.
Right. And you can be a great supportive partner to somebody who does struggle with anxiety and depression. That's always something that I encourage everybody to be more educated about. And there's also certain things that you can't do for him, and vice versa. So just things to consider. Where do you draw that line? And that's something that's deeply personal.
All right. So I would think about all those things and really sit down with yourself and do your best to think about what it would be like if you lost him for good and how that will feel. It's hard to feel it now because oftentimes we think, I'll be okay. And then we lose that person and we're like, no, what did I do? And sometimes it takes us months to get there. But asking yourself the challenging questions is, I think, the best thing that you can do to sort things out for yourself and decide how worth this is repairing for you.
Along with the flip side, thinking about now you have a good amount of time with this person. I think you can try to, think about a baseline of how you see him, how you see him in a relationship, how you see him in different moods, different mental health issues that come up. And then you can also kind of think, is this something that I would be okay with in the future? So a lot of important questions to ask.
Yeah. But we really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. And we hope that it was helpful to you.
Yes, yes. Always a help.